for a coach that is not just hearing what you're saying, but really listening to your comments and your remarks, what are some of the ways, and what do you suggest, I should say, a coach can implement some of the things that you're talking about, but also some of their own ideas when they're integrating their plan or giving new goals or objectives to a team?
I mean, there are both sides on and off the field. So obviously on the field, with all the very different variation of hundreds of different exercises, you can make a huge difference, and all the coaches know that. I'm a deep believer that with whatever level of a group you're working on, you gotta kind of always work on the edge with them. So the difference between different levels in soccer is the pace of the game. It's the speed of play, speed of thought, speed of implementation. It's all speed related. So the higher you get into the system, the higher the physical demand, the higher the pace. Can you keep up with it? Is your technique the same at the highest speed than it is at a slower speed? And so whenever you work with a group, you have to work always on the edge. That is my personal way of doing it. So when the national team comes together and we do our training sessions, maybe we don't do it that long, but we do it very sharp. We always keep them on the edge, because if I'm not there, I'm not giving them an extra kind of piece of education in a certain way. So everyone with his own group and the kind of level of play that great group has should always work on the edge, should always work. So how can I push them a little bit further and make them understand where is the next little step, next thing to do? Another very important point is that we learned over years, I think, and if I look at kind of mentors for me, like Carlos Alberto Pereira or Bertie Vogts or an Aimé Jacquet that I admired over years, is the way of communication. I think it's where all coaches can still learn a lot. So how do I really communicate with my players? What are the right messages? What is the right tone I'm using? And I mean, following youth soccer in this country since 13 years and knowing also a lot about the game there, I think we can still improve a lot in that way. I think we can bring messages more positive across. I think we don't need to be screamers on the sideline. I think we can create an environment where the kid really kind of is in charge of his game, because it's a player's game. He owns the game, and I think there are certain elements that we can improve.
Following up, what were some of the constant denominators of those men you just mentioned, some of your coaching mentors, in terms of how they communicated to their teams?
Well, I think one key is certainly to think always in opportunities or solutions. Never think about what went wrong and point out what went wrong. So taking the situation where something goes wrong and offer them right away the solution. So you got to kind of reverse it. You see somebody made the wrong decision. He was dribbling instead of passing. So if you go in there and says, "Do not dribble anymore," you should do that. Instead of saying that, "Do not dribble anymore," it should, "Hey, did you realize you could have passed the ball? He was wide open." So the way we package a piece of information is very, very important, especially the younger you go, because they're very sensitive to it. If a coach has the wrong tone, if he has the wrong words, that makes or break a kid, a player. And I think that is something that I observe from big coaches. Or if you look at a Phil Jackson, how he's on the sideline, how he did that, or certain coaches of different, obviously, sports and the big sports here in the U.S. I admire that. I admire how they are taught to communicate.